Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to my hobby blog. I'm very excited today because I have a new guest on the channel. It's my friend Collin from Steller Reads. He has been doing some really cool reviews. I talked about my weekly progress report a little bit, but he just finished book one of Dune, which this is my really old ratty copy I got from the used bookstore. It's from the first, no, it's not the very first printing, but it's close to the first printing. So it's really fun to sort of see what his reactions were, and I'm very happy to have him on the channel and talk about it. He's a sci-fi author as well, so that we can kind of pick his brain a bit and see what makes this book tick for him. So welcome to the channel. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Yeah, I saw your videos on Dune. Every time you've referenced Dune or any of its sequels, just the way you talked about it, it got me to like rethink it. Because I thought like, well, it's so popular. Surely it's overhyped. Maybe I should read some other stuff. But you got me to like go right back to it and like really give it a shot. And oh my god, it's such a good book. It's such a good book.
Yeah, I agree, because the first time I read it was during COVID in 2020, and I was very bogged down by the desert portions of the book, and I just did not enjoy it at all on first read. The first half of this video will be spoiler free for anyone who's wondering, and second half will be spoiler for book one only. So although I've read all six of the books that Frank Herbert has written, I will not be spoiling those because there's enough to talk about with book one. This is one of my favorite books of all time, and it's just so rich in terms of the world building, the themes, the characters. The characters alone are just really fascinating. It's just really, really great. And I was wondering, what was the one element of this book that really struck you the most, considering this was your first read?
Gosh, that's a really good question. Um, I think if I had to break it down to one thing, it would be how even the most significant of moments, Frank Herbert doesn't like linger for too long. He'll have like some really important thing happen, and he'll say it in just like a very short paragraph, where maybe another author would spend like pages going into this like overly kind of emotional, overly analytical thing. Just but he just talks about it, does the job, and moves on to the next thing. So the whole book feels like each and every word matters, just because it matters, not because he's like fluffing it up. They like really is intrinsically important. Uh, but yeah, gosh, that's what's your favorite aspect of it? Like if you had to choose one thing.
For me, I think it had to be the world building. I love all of the different planets. I love all the different cultures. I also
Yeah,
really love the thematic themes as well, where we have a lot of like sort of prophecies, but you sort of realize as you read the books, and especially in this book, because there's so much with the Bene Gesserit, who are probably my favorite like secret society, and
oh yeah,
like sci-fi and fantasy, because they are so like long planning based, like long term based, and you see all these different plans slowly coming to fruition, and then it completely goes a totally different direction than they expect. And I really love seeing how the characters react to that too, because the characters is probably my second favorite part, along with the world building, because this book is just
yeah,
chock full of iconic, memorable characters. And as the books go on, slowly but surely they get cut off from the cast, and it gets harder and harder for me to read personally. Not to go into spoilers, but as the books go on, the cast gets smaller. So from book one, so it's really
yeah.
fascinating to sort of see how all of them have their own agendas. They're all very well realized. Their personalities are so just well written. Like Frank Herbert, like I don't know if he had a dream of these people and just spent I don't know how many years with them, but they feel like normal people and people you would meet today. And the way that he writes the time period as well is very fascinating because
Yeah.
technically they're still humans, but like we're so far future now, they don't at all act the way we do, and that's like so
No.
cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what it's you're like 10,000 or something, or somewhere around that ballpark,
I think
where
so,
it's
yeah.
thousands. that's incredible because they've been in space on different planets for like I don't think it's too much of a spoiler. Like getting Prime
Yeah.
uh, uh, versus Collin. Um,
Hmm.
they're very different planets. They have very different adaptations, and both the Harkonnens and the Atreides have like very different ways of dealing with these different lifestyles. And
Hmm.
it's so cool. Yeah, the world building is just top notch. There's no holes whatsoever. It just is like seamless.
Yeah. Like, it's really fascinating too, the planets, because they're so different from each other. But Arrakis, the planet, is like a magnet to everybody because they're trying to get the spice. And the spice is something that I just find really fascinating. It's a metaphor for oil, is what Frank Herbert said during the Afghanistan war and sort of that first uh, war on oil, basically. And it's really fascinating to see him take those ideas and translate it to water and spice because
Yeah,
Dune has no water on the planet, and we'll get more about it in the future books. But it's really fascinating seeing how he like tackles these subjects. So I keep
yeah.
teasing the future books. I'm sorry, but
No, it's cool. In fact, I got a couple questions about it. So,
yeah.
so the series it's called Dune,
Mm.
and so the future books, from what I understand, we go to some other planets. There's like one called Ix, right?
Yeah,
And
X
a
is my
couple of other
favorite
ones.
planet. Yeah.
So the series being called Dune, does that mean that each and every book we have at least some characters on Arrakis, or do we have certain books that like are completely taking place on different planets?
So I would say
Or is that a spoiler?
they're all spoilers with this question, so I won't go into too deep a detail. But I did find that the most of the books, yes, there's always a perspective on Arrakis, and at some point that is not true anymore. We don't get any more perspectives on that planet, and the story goes elsewhere, which is really
Okay.
fascinating. So I won't say when
Yeah.
that happens or anything. I want that to be a surprise, but there's a
Yeah.
lot
It's
of really
exciting.
cool,
That,
yeah. And that's
I
what
mean,
was really fascinating to me because I see a lot of discourse about how, oh, you only need to read book one. That's the only good book in the series. And I would say minimum read up to book four because it's all just fantastic. And I think it's expectations because book one is such a masterpiece in sci-fi. So I think there's definitely a wide like gulf in terms of comparison, but to me,
yeah.
it's more about the world and the world building and the characters, and he continues that throughout most of the books. So some people, I don't want to say they're wrong for only reading book one, but I think the not giving it the fair chance that Frank deserves because he spent a many
Right.
many years on these books. So
Which brings me to even though we'll talk about it later when we're talking about the book, but we're
mm-hmm.
talking about the movie. Um,
Oh yes,
but it seemed like Frank Herbert, he had the first three books, or oh, you got it right there.
yeah. This is the
Nice.
David Lynch one here is a nice addition, and then I
Ooh,
have the studio releases of the part one and part two. But
I love
yeah.
that. That David Lynch one looks gorgeous. The cover there.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
man.
it's awesome. Yeah, I have a poster right up here. It's just off camera. Let me see. Yeah, there's the poster. Yeah,
I
with the
haven't seen
Sand
that
Mountain
movie
Bay.
since I was like very, very young, and
Yeah.
I have always like uh, mixed that movie up with Tremors for some reason,
Oh
just
yeah.
because they have sandworms. Like that's how
Yeah.
little I remember of it. So I gotta rewatch
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, it was really
It's
fun
very
about.
different movies.
Yeah, what's really fun about the David Lynch movie is that there's a really great video on AltShiftX's channel, and I'll send you that video and put it in the description. But he
Oh yeah.
talks about Frank Herbert's reaction to David Lynch, and he said it was like the best adaptation ever. And I was shocked by that because I was like, it's nothing similar. But he was saying that he captured the spirit really well of the books. And I rewatched it. Like I rewatch it all the time. I love David Lynch. He's my favorite
Oh
director.
yeah.
And
Oh
like
yes.
it's so
So good.
fascinating because he does get the spirit of the books really well, including the sequels. I think he really nails the Harkonnens really well in the movies. They're totally different than how they are in the books, but it's a really fascinating twist
Mm.
on the faction. But you did watch the movies as well, right? I think you did say.
Yes, in fact, I've watched the first one twice now, and the second one I just hit pause on like on the last 30 minutes again, and yeah, it's let's begin into the spoiler territory. We got some things to say
Yeah.
about that. Oh yeah.
So do
Oh man.
I.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Hmm.
Especially part two. Part
Yeah.
two. Hmm.
Yeah, part two is a step down, I feel like. That's all I'll say for now, for the non spoilers,
Agreed.
but it's a big step down for me. It's still aesthetically and visually just one of the best movies in the genre, but in terms of
Yeah.
the actual writing and the story, I don't like the changes they made.
Yeah. As an adaptation, it frustrates me, but as a film, if I knew nothing about it, I'd be like, oh, this is awesome sci-fi film. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough.
So, what would you say was your experience reading this like on your first read? Like, were you very confused throughout it? Because I know I was, but or was it
Yeah.
like just it felt like home kind of since you're a sci-fi reader?
It's weird. So I bought this copy. Your copy is so cool. I'm so jealous of your copy. I have this one. It
Oh
has like
yeah,
the
the
movie
movie
art and
poster
stuff.
one.
And I got this like before I watched the first movie,
Hmm.
and I opened it up. I read like maybe the first 20 pages, and it didn't hook me because maybe I wasn't smart enough for it. Is the truth. I didn't know what's going on, and
Yeah.
uh, and I finally saw the movie, and seeing the first movie actually really helps to like visualize what this guy's talking about and just have like a footholds and know, okay, he brings up this character, it's that guy, and
Hmm.
I felt like that's a great way to go. I recommend that for if someone somehow hasn't seen the movies and hasn't read the book. I'd say watch the first movie, read the book, then watch the second movie
Hmm.
because uh, yeah, it's like well, there's a lot of surprises still. It's not a perfect adaptation as we stated, but especially part two, like the second
Hmm.
half of this book goes into some really amazing places that just have not been adapted, and
Hmm.
it was really good. It's one of my top reads.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because the first time I read it, as I said, I was very confused about it. But then I saw part one because they were doing a rerun in the theaters. So I was like, hey, like this is a great chance to watch it for the first time. And this was in 24, right before part two came out. And so I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, I get it. I get why this book is like so awesome. Because I'd read it
Yeah,
about twice up to that point, and my rating was like 6.5 for the first read, and it climbed to an eight and
yeah,
a half on second read, and then I saw the movie and
right,
it climbed to a 9.5 because I just
totally.
loved it so much and I just was able to get it a lot more because it really explains everything so well. And you can visualize everything a lot better seeing it on screen compared to just trying to visualize what X looks like, the Spacing Guild, Kaladin, like all these different elements that are not of our world. So it's really hard to
Yeah,
visualize it. But I think the movies do a really great job in introducing a new person to the series. And I agree that's a great jumping off point for someone new, is to watch part one only. And then once you
yeah,
finish part one, go read the book. And then watch part two after you finish the book, and then sort of turn that analytical side of your brain on where you can like say what you liked and changes and all that because I think we are going to be in very close I guess lanes here in terms of agreements to what we did not like with part two, but part one is like a near
yeah.
perfect movie. I feel like I think it's a
I do
nine and a
too.
half out of 10 movie.
It was so good. After going back and rewatching it after reading the book, they got so much right. The tone, even the second
Mm-hmm.
movie, it's like the aesthetic of it so well. Like it really does get this very specific vibe across, and I think that was the most important thing. So even though they have all these mistakes and stuff, they did get some really like the soul of it right. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like, but the issues that it has are pretty egregious. The second.
Yeah.
Um, I guess it's not quite too spoilery to say that Paul and Johnny are very different people in the book compared to the movies.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I have a whole not really rant about it, but that's one of the big
Yeah.
changes I did not like because I saw the movie twice in theaters. The first time was with my dad, who hasn't read the book, and he's only seen the movie, and we loved it, watching it in terms of the
Yeah.
movies. But then I went and saw it with someone who did read the book, and we both were like, ah, wah, wah, like after. It was really fun to sort of get both of those experiences as movie only and then book only. But yeah, the whole Chani thing just completely changes from book to movie. And that was something that was very well done in the David Lynch movie, actually, was Chani and Paul, which the big issue with the Dune movie from the 80s is that they have too much narration that's very obvious. And it sort of over explains the movie. So if they took out all of the narration of, like, because you hear all the inner thoughts of all the different characters while the scene is going, and then, like, it's just very distracting, and it really slows the movie down. But they did really nail the chemistry between Chani and Paul really well that I felt like part two did not do. But
Right.
is there anything else you want to talk about with non-spoilers? Because I feel like we have a lot to talk about with spoilers, and I'm ready.
To Yeah, it's tough talking around it, to be honest. But just to kind of piggyback on what you just said about how the David Lynch movie, you hear all the thoughts of the characters. That's pretty awesome still that they decided to do it that way. Because, well, that's how it is in the book. You hear every character's thoughts, even like the villains. Um, and that might be a good jumping off point to get into spoilers. Talking about Yue
Yeah, Yue.
a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
The scientist. He's awesome. I every read that I go through, because I've read the book 3 times now in just the last 4 years or whatever. And like every time I read it, he becomes even higher as like a favorite character. Like he is such a fascinating guy because he ends up betraying House Atreides in order to try and save his family. And you end up you find out like he's not actually a villain. He was just desperate to help his own family. And Duke Leto just does not even fault him for it. He doesn't get all mad and like, I'm gonna swear vengeance. He's like, I understand. Like you had to do what you had to do. And Baron Harkonnen just digging the nail into the wound is like, yeah, no, they've been dead, this whole time. Like we've been using you. Sorry. And it's like such a gut punch. And every time I read the story, more of that sticks with me and resonates because I'm like, wow, there's just so much like behind the scenes going on, which I think Frank Herbert does really well. Is that he just has all of these different layers to the story and to the characters, and again, all of them could. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I feel like any of these characters could be the main character of Dune. It doesn't just have to be Paul. It could be Jessica, Leto, like everybody.
Yeah, they all have so much going on there. It feels like he must have written so many more words and like taken them away through editing. Like you can really tell they live off life off of the page. It's so good. If you were to choose one main character to replace Paul, for the first Dune book, which one would you like to have seen if they were the main characters of the whole thing?
I think for me, it has to be Lady Jessica, because there's so much going on with her that I would love to know more about. Like, I want to know more about her childhood, because she's from the Bene Gesserit, and we do actually get a lot more explanations about Jessica in further books. So that's something I'm really looking forward to your reaction on, because there's a lot going on. And also with the Bene Gesserit, because the Bene Gesserit are just some of my favorite characters. Sister Mohiam, Helena, what's Gaius? I don't know the full name, but it's those 3 names, I think. I may have misplaced which one goes first, but that character is so fascinating, and she just pops up all over the story in like the most random places. At first, she's on Caladan doing the Gom Jabbar to Paul, and the next time you see her, she's with the Harkonnens, and you're like, why is she with the Harkonnens? Like, and then she goes back to Arrakis, and then she just pinballs all over the story, and it's really fascinating. I think a whole book just from her perspective would just be awesome.
Oh God. So it's I get the sense that she was like villainous. At least in this book, would you say that she's like one of the prime villains of the first Dune book?
I would
Or is
say
she
so. She is a major character in the. I don't want to say how many books, but in a few books, she is a major character that pops up in and around the plot. But I don't know if I would call her villainous. I think the Bene Gesserit are the villains. I think she's just sort of upholding this system that is
I
so
see.
dependent on like control and keeping everybody down. And this is why book 4 is my favorite because there's a direct antagonist to the Bene Gesserit that is equal in power to the Bene Gesserit, and it's really fascinating to get that. So
Wow.
I can't go into
Okay.
spoilers, but
That's enough to like. Okay,
yeah,
I gotta get to book four. I gotta get to book
yeah,
four.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
great. But yeah, the Bene Gesserit, like they're definitely the villains. I feel like because they've just had this many thousands of years to prepare for the Kwisatz Haderach, and who ends up being Paul, which they are not
Yeah.
happy with. They wanted it to be the next generation, Jessica's, or I guess what should have been the daughter of Jessica, but instead she birthed a boy. That daughter should have had a daughter, and then that granddaughter of Jessica was going to be the Kwisatz Haderach. And then Jessica
Right.
foiled that because she fell in love with Leto and was like, I'm going to get back at the Bene Gesserit. So,
Yeah.
what do you think
Yeah.
of that whole
Speaking of
plot?
which,
Yeah.
that's my favorite. You know what? Taking a step back, that's actually my favorite part of the story.
Hmm.
Like you're asking, like what's my favorite part of Dune? Actually, that like I think it was one of the last lines where they talk about like it might have been either Princess Irulan or Jessica saying that history will remember us as not as concubines, but as wives or something. I can't remember what it was, but just the like the comparison between Duke Leto with Jessica and Paul with Chani was so cool because like they're not technically married, but they're closer than anyone else would be in marriage. Like
Hmm.
they're really like real partners, and I just thought that was beautiful. And I don't know, and this whole plot occurring because of the love that Jessica had for Leto,
Hmm.
and them having a son, and kind of going against this whole these all these machinations, and that spawns the how do you say that word?
I think it's Kwisatz Haderach. That's how I say it.
Kwisatz Haderach. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so they spawned the Kwisatz Haderach that way, and it's not how they foresaw, uh, but it also like comes into play with the Wisal Gaib,
Hmm.
and so they wanted to quit that Saturday night, but instead they got the Wisal Gaib. And
Yeah.
it's the way that all pulls together. It's like it's seamless. It really is. It's
Hmm.
crazy how he like just stitches all these little pieces together.
Hmm.
Nothing short of genius.
Yeah. It's really cool too because the entire people of the Fremen are very important to this plan. Because if it wasn't for the Fremen, the Kwisatz Haderach would not have come, the Lisan Gaib would not have come. Because they were instrumental to Paul surviving by giving him the water of life, which gives him a lot
Correct.
of powers and sort of genealogical powers, is how I
Yeah.
understand it. But what do you think of the whole Fremens? Like,
I thought they were like once again the world building. I mean, it was pretty incredible. They felt like a real people that
mhm,
you can only understand so far because you're not amongst them. And there was this divide there. It was really I think essential in really showing uh, how unique their culture was. Like these are people who developed on the most hostile planet, populated by humans for thousands of years, and it comes across that way.
mhm,
Uh, there was the end of part two in the book, like as the part one, two, three. Um, there was that one part that was like a little uncomfortable. It's like
mhm,
sci-fi goes to these places sometimes where they drink the water of life, and Jessica uh, with in Aaliyah, they both kind of have that moment where they, um, it's like they drank the uh, Alzabo analeptic almost a
Oh
little bit.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Very similar. I didn't think of that. Yeah, because I know Gene Wolfe was heavily inspired by Dune. He's talked about it in
really?
interviews I've seen.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
yeah.
That makes so much sense though.
Mhm.
That's 100% like when I saw that I was like, oh shit, that's where
Yeah.
you got that. But
For
like the
anyone wondering,
Fremen
that's Book
though,
the New Sun. Everyone should read
yeah,
that.
look
That's
at
one of the best series
read
ever.
oh, it's so good. It's one of my
Hmm.
favorites. But the question about the Fremen, like in that same scene, she drinks that water of life, uh, and then all the other Fremen after like she like changes the chemical composition of it, like
Hmm.
telepathically or something. From what I understand,
Yeah,
does that sound accurate?
it's something like that. Yeah, I don't try to understand how that happened. I think it's
Uh,
genealogical powers is how I take it. So,
yeah, the Fremen they drink it now that it's like safe, and then they all like they all get together all at once, and it was like kind of uncomfortable, but also like world building. It shows like, oh, this is their one moment of like fun, as opposed to just living this awful life, like day
yeah.
after day, just surviving and wearing a still suit, and like it's cool from our perspective, but man, that would suck to live on Arrakis. It would be terrible, like
Yeah,
really bad.
it's a really terrible planet to live on. Because one of the fascinating points that really got me into the book on second read is the duel with Jamis and how they deal with his
Yeah,
body. Because Paul
yeah,
kills him and sees himself, and this
right.
is another change I don't like in part two, or part one actually, is that in the books, Paul sees in the future that he's going to have to kill Jamis. And killing
Yeah,
Jamis is going to sort of set him free. And in the movie, they sort of just make it into like a revenge type of thing where Jamis is mocking him and all this stuff. And Jamis in the books is totally different. And
yeah,
I really love how at the end of the scene, it's the same in both the movies and the book, is where they take his body and they put it into like a canvas bag sort of thing and they squeeze all of the water out of his body
yeah,
and they drink it. And that's like such a cool idea. And again, it
yeah.
sounds exactly like the Alzabo soup, or not soup, but the that scene.
Analeptic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah. King Wolf uses weird words.
oh yeah,
That's his thing.
yeah. And it's really cool, sort of how Frank has an answer to everything, because it's like he's thought about this culture so deeply, and even about the burial practices, how they live, the Seiches, which is like the sort of safe haven villages within the
Right.
rocks. Like that's really cool. That's like my favorite part, and they come up every single book, the Seiches. So this is really cool, and sort of the evolution of the Seiches is really cool. Siege to Boy, I believe, is the name that the gosh, what's his name? I'm thinking of Javier Bardem's character, the one Fremen
Um,
guy. I can't remember his name, but he's the one who comes with the Chris knife and gives it to Jessica. Still God.
right.
Still God.
Stilgar.
Yeah,
Good
Still
old
God.
Stilgar.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's one
Yeah,
of my favorite side characters.
yeah. The
But
movie though, I felt like kind of
he's a comic
like
relief. Yeah.
yeah, he was still one of my favorite parts of the movie. Like
Hmm.
his vibe there, like really did lift it up. But at the same time, his character arc is like just this flat line where
Hmm.
he just like believes in Paul instantaneously,
Yeah.
and Paul had to like earn that in the book. And I
Hmm.
thought that was so much better.
But they took like what 2 to 6 years of Paul just trying to earn the loyalty. Like it was a
Yeah,
multi-year like commitment for Paul to try and win over the Fremen people. And the movie is like bam, like in a month or
yeah,
however long, a week. But
yeah.
it was just really
He had a
like
kid.
yeah.
Yeah, he had a kid. He had Leto the second
Hmm.
with Chowdy too, which I was bummed that they kind of didn't do that. That's like sealed the deal between them. I felt
Yeah.
like they were a real couple.
Yeah, because they were actually in love, and I hate. This is one of the things I hate about part two, is that they turned Chani's character into a jealous, like side piece or whatever, instead of being the
Yeah.
one he loves so deeply. And in the books, she knows it's a political marriage. She does not care about that
Hmm.
because she knows that she has Paul's heart. And in the movie,
Yeah.
she's like jealous and, growling and like all this stuff from the side of the camera. And I'm like, come on, like, you don't have to make this thing. It really simplifies it and
It does.
ruins her character, I feel like. And also
Yeah.
changing the character of Alia, which is what the David Lynch movie does so well, is the character of Alia. Like, she is amazing in the movie. But, like, she's just a fetus talking to Jessica in the movie. And it's really disappointing. So,
Yeah. It came
I
out
don't know
kind of
what they're going
corny.
to do for Dune Messiah, which is book 2. But they've already greenlit the movie. But I don't know
Yeah.
how they're going to deal with that book. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say this earlier, but like now we're in spoilers territory. But
yeah.
I saw an interview with the director's name of the two new movies.
Mm.
I don't remember his name.
Oh,
It's
Denis
like
Villeneuve?
Denis Villeneuve. That's how you
Yeah.
say it. I was gonna butcher that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fine.
so he said like, uh, oh, uh, Frank Herbert wrote Dune Messiah, the sequel, because no one understood that Paul was supposed to be an anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, he like planned the first three books out before he ever like wrote a word. So that doesn't make any sense. I think
Mm-hmm.
everything was like deliberate. You can tell it's deliberate, and I really think they should have just done three movies for the first book. I think that would have fixed everything. They wouldn't have rushed. They would have
Mm-hmm.
gotten Aaliyah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with book 1, like, this is why it made me so excited when they announced Dune from Denis, is that I was like, the David Lynch movie is about 2 hours and it's sprinting through the book and it's like really fast, but two parts feels really good. But like Dune Messiah, like once you read it, I'll be able to be more specific, but like that book is very short. It's like 200, 300 pages and it's very short in timeline and it doesn't deal with stuff that I thought the book would be about. So I'm wondering if they're changing that for the movie. And that's sort of what I'm wondering right now. And because he did plan out the first 3 books before ever writing book 1. And it's really fascinating to think about that because it took him years and years to get to Dune Messiah, I believe. And then again to Children of Dune, which is book 3. And I love those books, like, as a totality. But I think book 4 is sort of like the final book. I don't think books 5 and 6 personally are that interesting to read because it's a whole new cast of characters basically at that point, because he takes a lot of time jumps in this series. I won't be specific at how much time jumps, but there's some pretty major ones, and it's really fascinating. Book 4 is because that's the biggest time jump, and I can't be
Yeah.
specific, but it's really interesting, sort of to think about the behind the scenes of the books, because he is like there's so much layers to it, and this whole discussion about Paul being the villain. I thought it was very obvious that he was the villain because he's this outsider
Right.
coming in and infiltrating this culture for his own
Yeah.
needs. That's very villainous behavior. The Bene Gesserit are doing the exact same thing, but galaxy wide instead of just one people. So of course they're
Yeah.
the bigger villains, is what people view them as. But what Paul does with his power is probably worse than or equal to what the Bene Gesserit have done. So it's really fascinating,
Right.
this whole discourse around the series and whether Paul is a villain or not. Because Frank Herbert was very clear, like he is the villain of the Dune series. So
Right. And the whole aspect of like the thing that really like made that like really click for me was the water of life. How the like spice and everything is seen as this. It's not just oil, like an unlocked oil. It's also like this very sacred thing, almost like ayahuasca or something,
yeah.
where it's like this a deeply cultural important thing. And he and to become Luis Gaib, he goes behind everyone's back. He like drowns the sandworm and
Mm-hmm.
and then drinks that himself. without like telling anyone. He just like he kind of breaks the rules to do that.
Hmm.
Um, and I thought that was pretty telling. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's fulfilling his prophecy, but he's doing it by kind of like doing something pretty sneaky. And
Hmm. It's sort
I don't
of
know what do you
like,
think.
yeah, he's twisting the prophecy to his own needs because
Yeah,
he realized, because in part one of the movies, he's sort of resistant to this prophecy and resisting the Bene Gesserit when they gave him the Gom Jabbar, and his mom is like, oh, just do it, like, this will help us for the future. And the Emperor gives the Atreides family Arrakis to look over, but it's really a ploy just to kill them off because they realize how
right.
influential this family is because of their charisma, and they also have a really powerful Bene Gesserit trained woman heading the
Yeah,
family because she has equal say as Leto does and what the family does. And she tells him, like, we should go to Arrakis and, take control because, we're the best ones who can do it. The Harkonnens are leaving. And the Harkonnens eventually send the Sardaukar, who are some of the coolest designed sort of, I guess, special forces type of military. Like,
yeah,
they send them after them, and they kill most of them, and they take Leto hostage. They kill Dr. Yue, who was trying his best to help them, the Harkonnens, but it didn't matter because his use was sort of done by that point, so they just killed him. And I really love the plan too, where Yue gives Leto the tooth that he just bites down, and the
yeah,
poison comes out. It's done very, very coolly in the movie, in both movies actually, the David Lynch one and the Denis Villeneuve one. But I really love sort of how each thing sort of builds upon each other, and everything with the Fremen is just like the culmination of the Atreides and Jessica and Paul just being done with following orders, and they're sort of being the ones to now give orders and telling the Fremen what to do, resisting the Bene Gesserit. That final scene with Fade Wather is like one of the coolest
so
villains.
cool.
I feel like he's just so nasty, like just awful. But like I really loved sort of the final scene of the duel between Feydwatha and Paul, because it's all of these different forces coming together: the Bene Gesserit, the Emperor, Harkonnens, the Atreides, the Fremen, like everything, everybody, everyone is there in that room. The different guild houses are there too, up in orbit, waiting to nuke them, but they decide not to. But like, it's really interesting that duel because it's sort of like the big. If this was Malazan, this would be the biggest convergence, because a repeated theme of Malazan is the idea of convergence. Power begets power; it draws power, and that room is probably the most powerful people in the universe. All there, we have the leader of the Bene Gesserit, who Paul yells at to, shut it, be quiet, and she does because his voice is so powerful that she just has no choice but to do that. And he resists the Emperor, who is remarkably played by Christopher Walken. This is another issue I have with the movie, is that the Emperor had really no role in the movie, and
Yeah,
he could have been done more. What was your thoughts on all of that?
yeah. I mean, I just feel like it felt like it all kind of came out of nowhere. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like that's why I think that book or movie two should have been like building up all this tension. You're meeting all these characters. You're
Mm-hmm.
introduced to Fade Raka. You get more time there. Like we got a decent chunk on Getty Prime. I thought that looks really cool.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
black and white.
yeah, but the main issue I had with that is that we didn't even there was no Count Fenring. Where was he?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was
Yeah.
I thought he was like he was built up to be this terrifying character who's so strong to where he could kill anyone. Like we're talking about that room where everyone's so powerful, he could have personally killed any one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
And but then like last second he decides like they're then just are ordering him to like go and do the deed, kill Paul, and he's like nah, he decides not to. And
Yeah.
he was so cool. Like you're so curious about him at that point. Like oh, who's this guy? He reminds me of like One Piece. I'm not very far in One Piece, but he was like Hawkeye Mihawk.
Yeah.
Like when he first shows up, and he just like destroys Zoro,
Yeah.
and he he's like just this insanely powerful character, and yet he lets him walk away with his life, and that's the vibe I got from him.
Yeah, I love the One Piece reference. I'm just caught up as of 2 days ago, the most
I
recent
saw that.
chapter, so I'm very happy about that. But yeah, he's exactly like sort of a Mihawk character because he is one of the most powerful people there, and he's not in the movies at all, and it's like such a shame. And plus, we have a lot of different characters in there who are completely under utilized in the movies. I mean, Princess Irulan as well. We don't really get a mention of her in movie one. Florence Pugh plays her, and like she's a fantastic actress. Give her any material and she can do it. But I feel like
Yeah,
most of the focus was on Paul when it should have been like everybody, just like in the books, because the book is I think 800 pages long or something. Like it's okay, it's like almost 550. It feels like it's 800 to 1,000 pages long because
right,
of how much
right.
information is in it. And
Yeah,
I
like
feel like
mine
they,
I think is even like
yeah.
close to 700 if you count the notes at the end for the
Okay.
appendix.
Yeah, because I feel
But
like there's so much like unsaid in part two,
yeah,
and like the
there really is.
Emperor, Princess Ulan, like these are very important characters in the later books. Princess Ulan mostly, but like they're just kind of like regulated to like the roles that they have, the Emperor and then the wife of Paul, and like that's it. There's no other room to explore them, and Christopher Walken's like one of the most legendary actors of all time. like,
Right?
like just give him a long speech throughout the movies. Like, you don't have
Yeah,
to have
and,
show him the final 10 minutes of the movie. Like,
and he looks like legitimately bored. Like
yeah,
he looks like he's just been like sitting waiting to film these scenes. Like, all right, when am I starting? Kind of a thing. And
yeah,
yeah, he was awesome. Like it was an interesting casting choice. It wouldn't have been my first choice at all, but it was like it could have worked.
yeah. Because he's much younger in the books, I believe. Like he's in his
That's
50s,
what I was
maybe.
thinking.
And in the
Yeah,
movies, he's more like 70, which I guess has to come with the casting of Christopher Walken. But like, it should could have been done better because it shows that he's been in power for so long, and his daughter, like, she's not the only daughter that he has. So he's been politicking and having his daughters marry, and he's like, I want her to marry Paul, so we have access to him or whatever. And or he doesn't say that, but I think he Paul just sort of is like, I want to marry her and be
right.
in control and be the new emperor and take over. So it's really a shame that the director didn't go for that for part two. So
Yeah, yeah. He really there's just some odd decisions there. But one thing I really love about both movies, but definitely the first movie in particular, is the soundtrack. I
oh
really
yeah.
enjoyed the soundtrack. I know some people didn't like his approach. It's
Mm.
Hans Zimmer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I thought it was so cool. It
Yeah, I
just
loved
brings
it.
me right back to it.
It's
Uh,
great seeing it in the theater too, because you have the surround sound, like heavy speakers, and it
oh
like you
man,
can feel yourself, going onto the planet when you're on the ships and stuff. Like it's just such a well mixed movie, audio wise, and the soundtrack is just like phenomenal. I
it
mean,
really is.
Hans Zimmer is like a master, like in terms of making soundtracks, and it's always
It really is.
because like he doesn't do the same soundtrack over and over again. He experiments and uses instruments that not many people use for soundtracks.
Yeah.
Because you watch the behind the scenes of him making the soundtrack, and he's like, "Yeah, we use this instrument from this culture that like I haven't used before, but I got an expert that can use it, and we work together to make the sound. So it invoked the Fremen, and then we use this instrument to invoke the Harkonnens, and like he had very distinct visions for each of the cultures and how they would be represented musically, which is so interesting and awesome. Meanwhile, in the David Lynch movie, you have Toto doing the soundtrack, rock
It's
band.
different.
So it's fun. Like, it's cool. I'm not
Yeah,
complaining, but it's
it goes with the decade, right? I mean,
yeah, the 80s. But like, it's really interesting how these movies are so done well, or well done. I mean, and then it's like the
oh yeah,
story writing is like it could have just copied the book more, and it would be
yeah,
totally fine. But like, it's fine. I still rate it like an 8 out of
yeah.
10 movie. But
It's still good. It's still good.
yeah.
Like out of all these gripes, I agree. There's a reason why I'm watching it a second time, and I'm
Mhm.
still enjoying it. There's certain aspects that are like, I don't know, kind of goofy, like when she's talking to the baby in her stomach, it just comes
Yeah.
across as like they could have done this a little different, but
Mhm.
it's still fun. It's still fun, and I'm excited for the third movie. I hope it's. I want to be wowed by it. I want to be so happy with it.
Mhm.
I'm not like hoping to be disappointed. I
Yeah.
want to love this third movie,
Mhm.
and I think it's possible. But I hope they fix some things in Johnny, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too late. I don't know. I haven't read the next book yet, so
Yeah,
it's.
I'll be very
I
excited to
hope.
get your reaction because book two is one that
Oh
I
yeah.
was very disappointed by on the first read. But the more I think about it, the more I understand the choices that he made. But I still want more of what I was expecting. And we'll get into that, I guess, when you finish book two, because I'd love to have you back on the
Oh
channel
yeah.
as we
Oh
go
yeah.
through
Let's
each
do
book.
that. That
Because,
sounds like fun. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Like I want to get to book four. He's had a lot of great things to say about it. So that's my plan right now. That's my dedication is to at the very least get to book four. And
Yeah,
that's
because it's really funny because there's two schools of camps. Well, I guess three of them. The first one's the one that says, "Oh, you should only read book one." I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about these other two camps. The one is book four is awful, and books five and six are awesome. I'm in the camp that thinks book four is awesome, and book five and six are fine. They're okay, but like the world building's still fantastic, like through the end of the entire series. But like
yeah.
he wasn't able to finish his series. He had about two
Right.
more books to write outlined that his son ended
Mm,
up picking up and finishing. Now I've heard it's okay. I haven't decided on reading them yet. I'm open to it. I don't have
yeah.
them in my TBI. I have like 90 something books in my TBI right now, so I'm not picking them up anytime soon. But if I end up finding them on sale, like really cheap, maybe I'll read it. Like, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
people who say like, "Oh, five and six are awesome, and book four sucks," and I'm like, "No, it's the opposite." Like, so it's really fascinating to kind of get everyone's opinion about this, because every reader's different. I feel like so a lot of people get different things out of the stories. I'm trying to think anything else from book one that we should talk about because we're getting close to an hour. I'm not sure how long you have, but
Yeah. I got the day off today, so I don't want to keep you or anything, but
okay.
I'm happy to talk about this book. Right? Oh yeah, no,
Oh yeah, same.
I've been living Dune this past few weeks.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
love it.
Yeah, so
Gosh,
tell me a little bit because you asked me like if I could have any character be the main
oh,
character. I want to revisit this question because I want you to answer it. What were you thinking? Like, which character do you want to be the main? If it wasn't Paul.
gosh, I think like Jessica was a great choice. That's who I had in mind when I asked that.
Hmm.
So now I gotta get creative here. Um, okay, so I immediately my mind goes to I know he dies pretty early on, but Duke Leto I
Mm,
thought
yeah.
was really interesting. Like even just in that section of the book which he exists, he really grabs readers' attention. You learn to love him as a leader. Like he's
Hmm.
the opposite of Harkonnens, where he trusts people so much that one of his closest confidants betrays him. And
Hmm.
uh, maybe I guess maybe probably if like wanted to stand like the full length of it though would be Hawat. I think Hawat is
Hmm.
interesting. He's very frustrating. He's extremely
Hmm.
frustrating. Like you just want to like slap him and be like stop thinking Jessica did this.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he's too analytical. Like he's putting it all together like an equation, but he doesn't have all the pieces. He doesn't have all the numbers, so he can't get to the solution. And
Hmm.
gosh, it's so cool. Like I'd love to see his experience on Getty Prime throughout all this. And I feel like they touched on the important parts, but it feels like there's a lot more there.
Hmm. Yeah, another thing I want to talk about are some of the side characters, because we've talked a lot about the
Yeah,
main characters, but the side characters are just as well realized and iconic, I feel like. And I think my favorite of them has to be Duncan Idaho. I would love to
yeah.
hear what you thought of Duncan Idaho, because he's
I was going to bring this
one of my
up. I
favorites.
forget. Thank you. Yeah, in fact, from one of your videos, I realized this only after I went back in to prepare for this. I was like, gosh, what was the video that I saw that got me to want to read Dune? And so I listened to like a few of your videos that referenced Dune, and one of them, you brought up how Duncan Idaho, he comes back on one of them. And
Oh, yeah,
so I realized that's why I had this preconception that like, oh yeah, he must have gotten away somehow. But then the movie, he dies so explicitly, like he's super dead. In the book, he dies explicitly. He's super dead, and so now I'm just left wondering like, how the hell is this guy come back? and,
it's
so
awesome. That's all I'll say. Duncan Idaho
cool,
is a repeat, masterful character throughout these books. So
beautiful,
it's not. I don't think
yeah,
it's a spoiler because you already knew about it, but
right,
it's like he is sort of the linchpin for like most of these books and why I enjoy them. So it's really
really.
fascinating. And there's
Well,
even a
that's
book
cool.
where the majority of the chapters are from his point of view, and it's fascinating. It's this whole identity like crisis plot line, and
Okay,
it's
scratch that.
amazing.
If I had one character I could choose, it would be him then, because I'd
Yeah.
love to see his experience throughout the whole this
Hmm.
timeline of the first book. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he is such a fascinating character because like he starts off one way. Oh, for a second
Sorry,
you
I
cut
got
out.
a
Yeah.
sorry, I got a spam call.
Uh oh.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Oh, good. Okay, so yeah, like Duncan Idaho is such a fascinating character, and especially in the movies because he's played by Jason Momoa, I believe, and he
Yeah,
is
how'd you feel
like,
about the casting?
yeah, and it's so cool, like to see him in the movie because I'm so used to him as Khal Drogo. Is sort of how I know Jason Momoa, but now he's like
Right.
this really cool like bodyguard for the Atreides, and we also have oh my gosh, Josh Brolin's character. What's his name?
Gurney
Oh,
Halleck.
Gurney Halleck.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he is
yeah.
awesome as well. Like, and he's running like reconnaissance, like between the Fremen and
Hmm.
the Atreides, along with Duncan Idaho, because they're
Right.
flying on the airplanes back and forth, and Duncan Idaho tells Paul like, "Oh no, you're not built for this. Like, you need to grow up like before you go out to the dunes and all that." And then he's forced to go into the dunes after the assassination of
Yeah.
Leto and all that. And it's really fascinating to get those two characters because they are so important to the main storyline, but they're off screen for so much of the book.
Yeah. Are you a Star Wars fan by any chance?
The original trilogy, yes.
Cool. Cool. I've got the nerdier approach. I love the prequels. I know a lot of people hate them, and I completely understand because I hate the sequels. So it's like I get
Yeah.
it. But the fall of like the Jedi,
Hmm.
it's fall of the Jedi Order. I was like after watching and reading through the fall of the Atreides house, I feel like George Lucas took a huge hint from that. Like
Yeah, I've
just
never
the
thought
tone
about
of
that.
it.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
It was yeah, just that like apocalyptic sort of feeling, like all is lost. You've been worried about all these characters, and all of a sudden they're all dead, and
Hmm.
they're stranded. It's beautiful. Like that's one
Yeah.
of my favorite parts.
Yeah, and I really love the sandworms as well, because we can go into that a little bit. Shai Hulud is really, really
Yeah,
cool. Like this multi-meter, dozens of meters long uh, worm that, all these different worms detect vibrations, and they have a special way of walking so they don't, like, I guess, tip off the worms, but like it's really fascinating how they're sort of just dropped in the middle of the desert, and they're like, oh, those sandworms will take care of them, and they're able to survive really well because of the little information they were given by Duncan
Yeah,
Idaho and the various Fremen characters. And then we get the first meeting with Steller Guy, and like it's just really fascinating. I love that entire desert section. I did not like it at
yeah,
all on my first read because I was like, oh my god, this is so boring. Like I don't want to read this. I want to go back to the space opera and like all the
yeah,
politicking and all that. But on reread, it's so much better because that's sort of like the one of my favorite tropes in fantasy and sci-fi is the trope of the Odyssey, of the character going on a journey and growing and learning lessons and becoming a different person, evolving.
yeah,
And that's one of my favorite Odysseys now to read because everything that Paul learns on that Odyssey with his mom, Jessica, is so fascinating because it sets up everything for the second half of the book, which is probably one of my favorite second halves of any book because everything's just building, building, building in the first half, and it's just explosive all the way through the end.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't drop any piece there, and just so we don't miss this piece in particular, one section I wanted to bring up too. That like while reading it, I was visualizing it. Oh, this is going to be so cool in the second movie, and they just scrapped it. Was the fact that when Paul kills Jamis,
Mm-hmm.
he culturally has to take on Jamis's family. Like they're now
Yeah,
his responsibility. Like with Hera, I think was her name,
I think so. Yeah.
and now it's like he's expected to take her as like a wife, but
Mm-hmm.
he's in love with Chani, and so this complicated thing where I think it like said a lot of stuff about Paul because like he was willing to like yes, I'm going to take them on as responsibility. I'm not keeping them out of his house or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make sure that they're safe and that they're fed. But this isn't my wife. Like I'm not taking any spoils from this, but I'm going to do all I can to help these people. And so that was like a major, I think, heroic pillar of
Mm-hmm.
Paul, which he's complicated. He's an anti-hero at the very least. Uh, but I mean, I think he does have these aspects in himself that are like incredibly honorable, like his father. And yeah, I just thought that was really cool. I kept imagining like, oh, who's gonna play Hera? And I even looked up on Google. I was like Hera casting June Part Two, and it was no one. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that was one part of the story that I was like, because it's right off the bat in part two, because at the end of part
yeah,
one, they are walking with Jameis's body. And in part two, it's like they just skip all of that. And they're
yeah,
immediately trying to set up Paul as his leader. And personally, I do not like the casting of Timothy Chalamet in part two. I think he's perfect for part
yeah.
one. But part two,
Yes.
I do not take him seriously as who
No.
the Chris Hatterack should be at this point in the
No.
story.
His yelling is like when he raises his voice,
Mm-hmm.
he comes across like weaker, not stronger.
Yeah, he
Like where he
comes
like
off
he
like
has
very petulant. Yeah.
that's a perfect word. Yeah, yeah. Like when he's talking to his mom, when she's about to head south. I just finished watching the scene, and I had like laughed a little bit because it was like what the heck? He's like, what does he say? He's like, that's not hope or something, and he like just yells it for no reason. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just a thing that like childish. Like
Yeah. Yeah, because in the
man,
books he is very like wise after his
yeah,
odyssey through the desert, because he is learning so much from his mom. Because his mom's like telling him a lot about the ancestry, talking to him about the broader Bene Gesserit plans, and telling
yeah,
him like you gotta stay strong, you have to be a leader, like all this stuff. And I believe him in the books, but in the movies, I feel like he's just sort of a pawn for the Bene Gesserit. So,
yeah.
which is an interesting thing to think about, but it's not Dune for me. It's not
No.
what makes Dune amazing. So,
Yeah, it would have been hard to find like Timothy Chalamet has such a distinct like look to him,
mm-hmm.
where it'd be tough to find like an older actor version of him like Like it'd be like you might want to go the opposite direction and choose someone who looks totally different. Like all of a sudden he's John Cena or something.
Yeah.
Like
Get Dwayne the Rock Johnson in there.
there we go. There we
Yeah.
go.
He is the Rock. I mean, rocks are in deserts.
That's there we go. Okay, yes,
I
yes.
should
I'm
be in
on board.
Hollywood.
I want to see that movie.
Yeah. But it's really funny because there was another thing with the movie. Like, the whole character of Alia. Like, she is such a fascinating character. And this is why I feel like the movie goes too fast, part 2. Because she's like 5 years old by the time she's at the throne room in the book. And I believe it's Alia who kills the Emperor, right? Or Baron Harkonnen.
Yeah,
And not
yeah.
Paul. In the movies, it's Paul. And I don't like that at all. So,
No, it's too easy. It's like
yeah.
too direct. It's
Very predictable as well. So, because we get this twist that he's the grandson of Baron Harkonnen. Like,
Yeah.
it's this big reveal. And in the movies, they kind of do it. But then they're like, okay, we're just going to have him kill him. But I think it's a lot more powerful if Alia does it. Because Alia is a very, very fascinating character. I love her character in the next book.
I do too.
And the next few books, actually. Because she's a major character. Somewhat. Not a major
excited.
POV, but she's there. So she's really cool in the books. But
Do you feel like her casting in this would work for her future character in the next books?
it's Anya Taylor-Joy, right?
Yeah.
I think she would be really good. Yeah. Because I love Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's a fantastic actress. All the way back since The Witch, or The Vivitch, if you want to pronounce it like the Old English. How it's spelled in the poster with the 2 V's, because that's how they did it in the old days to save space on letters, I think, is sort of how they explain that. Because, I don't know, it's history stuff. But Anya Taylor-Joy is like such a great actress. And I think she does it well in the movies. Most of her scenes in part 2 is her just kind of looking at Paul. Not any speaking lines, nothing. It's just like, Hans Zimmer music overlaid with her, looking. And it's fine. Like, it looks good. But, like, she's a very major character in the book. And that's what I think David Lynch nailed the best is Alia. And she's in this, like, for the second half of the movie. So I would say, like, definitely rewatch it if you want. It's not the most interesting movie to watch. It's hard to stay awake, but Alia's fantastic in that movie, and how she kills the Harkonnen, Baron Harkonnen, is just so cool. Like, she's just awesome. She has a really, really great scene or a shot of her where she's dancing in front of all the different ships exploding. And she's in, like, Bene Gesserit cloaks, and she's just, like, dancing, like, all this stuff. Like, it's amazing. Like, it's awesome.
I gotta see that.
Yeah, it's, like, it's my favorite shot of that movie. But, like, in part 2, she's just a fetus, like, whispering to her mom. And I'm like, okay.
So weird. I love how the way she kills the Baron, too, is with the Gom Jabbar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was so poetic and so awesome. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, very satisfying. Because you're like, throughout the book, you're wanting Paul to kill him. Obviously, you're like, he's got to get revenge for his father. But this is like even better. Somehow they found a way.
It definitely subverts your expectations, which is what the Star Wars sequels really failed at, was relying so heavily on that. But just to give a dig at them. But like, it's really subversive that Frank Herbert had this new character that comes in the, like, last quarter of the book be the one to kill Baron Harkonnen. Because like, it's not expected at all. And I didn't even understand that the first time I read it. I didn't understand Alia. I didn't understand Baron Harkonnen all that much outside of his role in killing Leto. Like, the second half of the book really confused me on first read.
Yeah.
But I think the movie really helps that. So.
Yeah, having that foundation to work from was like everything. It's the only way I even got through the first like 100 pages. I had such a hard time the first try. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just watching the first movie, reading the book, it's definitely the way to go, I think.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think
And
anything else to talk about with book one. Are there any like theories or like things you want from book two, like from Dune Messiah?
yeah. So okay, um, so already getting Duncan Idaho back, that's awesome. So what I want specifically from that is I want Duncan Idaho to have at least a scene or two with Gurney Halleck. I want them to kind of come face to face at some point because I loved Gurney coming back. Uh, like like we another scene we talked about though is Gurney almost killing Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably like the height of the tension of the novel. Like that was so intense. Like at that point, like I was sure that Jessica was going to die, and that Paul was going to react to that, have to kill Gurney, and then everything would spiral, and that's how the whole jihad thing would start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and instead, they're so cool. They love each other so much. They're so close that they're able to like communicate and just talk it out. And Gurney's like, "Oh shit, you're right," and stops. And I thought that was just such a it really showed uh, Frank Herbert's prowess with his
Mm-hmm.
craft. He's an amazing writer. He could have killed Jessica, and it would have been fine. It would have been a great book still. But this like elevated it to the next level. Um, so I guess what I want to see for the next book is it's right now I'm in a place where it's tough to convince me that Paul is like a villain. Like
Mm-hmm.
like right now it's I can definitely see the seeds of him like switching and being like a really dark force on the galaxy. But but right now it's like he has so many like honorable aspects to him and even his like darkest decision making,
Mm-hmm.
there's like good reasons for it. A lot of the times at least. And so it's tough. So I think that shift is going to be. I think it will be challenging for me, but I'm interested in that challenge. I want to go through this process of like seeing, okay, what is Frank Herbert's angle here? Um, I don't know. I hope I like it. I
Yeah,
really do.
I think you will like it because I think your expectations are a lot more prepared than I was. I mean, I was just expecting Dune Part Two, basically, like Dune the book Part Two, like in terms of
Yeah.
epicness and all this stuff, and it's not that. It's something different, but it's really fascinating to hear your wish list because some of it is comes true in ways that you will not expect. So I'm very excited to see your reaction to everything with Paul in book two, because it's very clear how villainous he is. I mean, you'll see. But
Okay.
are there any last thoughts you want to give to this video?
Yeah. Yeah. Really, just thank you so much for doing this, and it's cool having someone to talk to about this after kind of sitting with this story. Sometimes you read a great novel and you're like, you have no one to talk to
Yeah.
about it. It's like, yeah, you make a video or whatever, but then it's like, it's just out in the void there, and uh, but this is awesome. And yeah. Oh, and I will get you a copy of this thing. I got
Oh yes.
coming out like 10 days from now. This thing will be out. We'll try and get it to you even before then, because yeah, you got awesome taste, and I'd love to get your perspective.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Before we finish, because I meant to ask you about this and I totally forgot. I'm sorry. I want
Yeah.
to know more about your books and sort of how you expect Dune to sort of inspire you as a writer, like from here
Yeah,
on out. Or
yeah, I purposefully didn't read Dune up to this point. Another reason, I have many reasons, but
mm-hmm.
this is an important one because I felt like it would inspire me too much, and I didn't want to like I don't want to copy anything. I want to do something. I like doing new stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like if I read Dune, I'd be too much trying to write Dune. And but at this point, I've read so many other books where I'm not worried about that. So I feel safe pulling in a few influences from it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, actually, it's influenced me to do. So I have like a bunch of unpublished works, like much longer novels than this one. This is my debut, the first one I'm putting out here. Um,
That's awesome.
yeah, the pressure is on. 10 days, but the I got some unpublished works that are like my babies. You know, I love these manuscripts I'm working on for years. And Dune got me to do one more draft on one of them because I felt like just he's so thorough. He's so perfect at what he does. Each and every scene matters so much. It made me reanalyze things and think like, okay, I can do this a little better. I can do that a little better. So it wasn't anything like specific. It's not like, well, I want it to feel like this should be like, I need sandworms in this or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was more like, uh, just, I could bring this up a little bit better. I could make this a little bit better. And so he inspired me in like the most like foundational of ways. Once again, which is I think the best way that an author can really push you.
Oh yeah, because his writing, like his prose, is just so well done. Like I'm never
Yeah.
bored while reading it because there's just so much going on. There's so much to think about. And
Yeah.
like he inspires me the same way in terms of like making myself a better writer. I finished a lot of different novels throughout my life, but I've thrown them all
Hey,
away because I didn't want to publish any of them.
dude,
And I don't know why
dude,
I
that's
did that.
awesome. Don't. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. Do you sell the files anywhere or
Maybe on a Google Drive somewhere, but like
keep them? Keep them.
yeah.
Yeah, like I used to I read a bunch as a kid and stuff, but never finished any stories. Like start something, do something else, do something else. But now like the ones I've lost, I wish I had those. You know,
Yeah.
just looking back, it's like a journal or memories or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's all practice. It all brings you to the next thing. Yeah, I'd love to if you ever want to like share stories or like data read for each other or stuff like that. I'd love to do that. Yeah, I'd love to
Yeah, I
see
would
some of
love
your
to do
work.
that too. Yeah. Cuz I'm actually working and it's been a while since I've actually sat down and written anything, but I have a like a Book of the New Sun, Elden Ring, and Dune crossover type of book, where like
Wow.
like I have the outline in my head now, like very well, and I have the first few chapters written just throughout the last few months, and like I've been really wanting to like sit down again now that I'm caught up on One Piece because I've just been spending like multiple hours a day just
Oh yeah.
going through One Piece. Now that those hours are freed up in my life, I want to get back to writing because One Piece has
Heck
really
yeah.
inspired me as well. But like Book of the New Sun too, like Gene Wolfe and Frank Herbert, those are the pros that I love the most as a reader, and it's like just amazing to sort of see how they've influenced my writing because I used to only do first person. I think first person's the easiest to write for me. And Frank
Hey, first
Herbert,
person's great.
and Frank Herbert and Gene Wolfe, like they showed me because I like third person a lot when it's like Steven Erickson, who did Malazan, Gene Wolfe, and Frank Herbert because it's very philosophical, it's very emotional, it's very deep and layered, and you have all this world building influencing it. And I've never really taken the challenge to tackle something as large scale as that. And that's what I want to do with this current project that I've been slowly working on. But now that I have all these hours freed up, I
That's
want to
exciting.
do it. So I'll definitely send you like the first few chapters when I can edit
Holy
them
snap.
again and make sure they're readable. But
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally, I get it. I get it, man. Yeah, it's like, um, when it comes to editing, do you like to? Are you the type of person who you want to do like draft after draft, like just go super deep into it, or do you go like you write a chapter, edit it a few times, or another chapter, edit it a few times, or like what's your sort of process with that so far uh, with this or like past projects?
so my process is usually I write the first draft straight through because by the time I do the second draft, I've forgotten a lot of what I've already written in the beginning, and I can start putting in the foreshadowings and rewrite. Because I think the second half of all the stories I've written, they're the least edited section of the book compared to the first half. Because the first half, like I don't outline usually. I have a general idea of where I want to go with the story, and with the story that I have now, because it's so heavily inspired by Book of the New Sun, Berserk is the other big influence
Oh,
for
I love
me.
dessert.
I love
Yeah,
Berserk too. Like, it's my favorite series.
yeah.
But, like, I'm very inspired by that. Like, the Odyssey, I mean,
Oh,
that's
hell
sort
yeah.
of my favorite tropes. And It's sort of a mix of Book of the New Sun, Odyssey, of just this really futuristic, weird Odyssey mixed with the Berserk, which is very apocalyptic. And I love that. Like, and I'm doing
I
like
gotta read
a,
this.
yeah, it's really cool. And like, I'm loving writing that. And now that I'm going in with that already in mind, and without having to figure out like what I want to do with the story, I'm finding these chapters a lot easier to write because I'm like I'm just working towards this ending of basically like an eclipse type of scene. Not to go too heavily spoiler, but that's
Oh
the
yeah,
type of ending that I'm going towards. So
like oh my gosh, that crushed me. I've
yeah.
only seen the anime, like it's like the original anime.
Oh, the
Like
'97 one. Yeah.
yeah, and it was so good. It caught me by surprise. I knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
Um, but that was dark. That was
Mm-hmm.
dark.
Yeah. I really
Ouch.
recommend the 2017 movie trilogy because it's they go farther into Golden Age than they did in the and the original anime. They didn't even have Skull Knight and all these different characters that I love. Like they are some of the coolest characters, and the in the eclipse scenes in the manga, and these movies adapted that finally. But it's I think 9 hours roughly, and the '90s anime is like 15
Yeah.
hours, like really long, like epic. But I have the TV show on Blu-ray, and I rewatched it like pretty regularly because I just love it.
Yeah.
But I heavily recommend the manga as well. So
Yeah, I read a few chapters after, like, what happens immediately after the eclipse, and poor Casca. Oh my
yeah, oh
gosh.
man,
Oh, it's so intense.
it's
So intense.
it doesn't even stop there. It just keeps going with her. Like I feel bad. Like yeah, you definitely need to read further. Like, and what's funny is that the first 3 volumes of Berserk take place after the eclipse, but you don't know about the eclipse at this point. So you're just kind of seeing Guts beating up a bunch of apostles and getting some teasers to
Right.
Femto. I will say I won't give his real name, but
Okay.
one of the God Hand. Is
Okay.
really
Good section.
fascinating. Those first few volumes. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
is there anything
Such a
else with
good.
Berserk or writing you want to talk about? How do you approach writing? Since you asked
Uh,
me.
Gosh, it's a little different each time, but I'm like you. I want to go through a full draft straight through. But I'll spend a day going as far as I can. At the end of that day, I'll clean up what I did that day to where
Hmm.
to make it easy to do the reread when I'm done, to where it's like so I don't feel like I have to fix off little things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, like I like to just do an obscene number of drafts because I feel like you'll get to where you feel like it's perfect, read it again, and at least I'll find like, oh, this is terrible, and then I'll go through it again, and I'll go through it again. I'll go through like I average like something like 20 drafts for each story I'm doing, and
Oh wow.
it's time consuming, but it's also like I don't know, like by the time I'm done, it's like you know the story so well that nothing surprises you. Once I get to that point, it's like hard to end, and so it's like that's the final product. It's once you know it so well, it's like you're just kind of almost changing like variables, like where oh instead of saying this, he's going to say this, but it's essentially the same thing. So it's kind of up to flavor, I guess. So yeah, at that point, it's just a waste of time. I think that writing is like it's constantly evolving process though. Like once you get through one manuscript, you experiment with the next one and find what works for you. But your technique reminds me of Gene Wolfe's technique too.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of what you said, uh, like what would you say that you don't outline, but you have in your head already, like very strong. Like I'm like a mix of that. I'll outline a little bit, like I'll give like a summary of each chapter, so I kind of know where I'm going, and I'll have like an idea in my head. But I have to have like something there to like reference to. But I don't go too deep into it just because
Yeah, that's
much
one of the
work.
biggest things I'm inspired by Gene Wolfe by is that in Book of the New Sun, like every chapter sort of feels like a set piece for Severian. And that's sort of the
Yeah.
exact same thing that I wanted to use. Because there's a lot of like apostle like creatures and, bosses, I guess, if it was a video game, in my book
Yeah.
that the character has to deal with.
Oh,
And
cool.
like, what's fun about it is that it takes place on our Earth, like after a apocalyptic event, and it's sort of like a quiet place too, which is not a good movie. I don't like those movies, but I love the idea of it. Of aliens crashing down, and
I
it's
agree.
it's sort of the same setup as that, but it's like not a quiet place. It's different. It's like Berserk and Book the New Sun, and so I'm sort of like trying to every chapter I have one like crazy thing happen, and I'm hoping when I get to the second draft I can like expand that a little bit more, so it's not just like monster of the week type of chapters, and instead
Right.
like organically they happen. But
Yeah.
I write
That
fastest
gives
when
to
I'm just
shoot.
doing action and these big moments, and then like I don't like doing dialogue scenes at all. I like the quiet characters. I mean, I like Guts a lot. He doesn't talk as much. He's very quiet, and he talks when he has to. But I don't like writing dialogue. It's my least favorite thing to do. I do a lot better with internal monologue because I'm someone who maybe it's because I'm like autistic or whatever, but my brain is going a million miles an hour all the time thinking about a million different things. And like that's just how I live life is, I just constantly think about stuff. And those are the easiest characters to write for me. I'm not someone who, likes to talk that all that much. I love talking about books and stuff like on video, but in my day-to-day life, I don't talk much. So it's really
Same here.
interesting as a writer.
I relate. I
Yeah.
relate 100%. Yeah, I think that's what's so beautiful about books is you're getting more than just like something that can be communicated in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeper than that. And yeah, I think that's awesome. Like Gus, you're communicating in action as opposed to by just telling people what's happening. That's that's the
Mm-hmm.
way you want it to be. That's what makes a book awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to read it too.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you. Yeah, because my least
I'm
favorite
excited to
books.
get.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited to get to your book.
I
I'm
want to
really.
get your perspective.
Yeah.
I want to get your your honest opinion. I want
Mm-hmm.
your review to be honest. Like
Oh
if you
yeah,
think
I'm
it's a
always
1 out of
honest.
10, tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me.
It's very hard to get below 5 out of 10 for me. I mean, the last below 5 was probably Rendered Truth, and
Ooh,
that was a
okay,
three
okay.
out of 10 for me. That was the whole thing. But like, my main
Yeah,
issue when reading is when characters just say how they're feeling, and tell you
yeah.
like what's going on. Like, I'm always a
Right.
show not tell type of guy. Like, just show me how the character's feeling. And I think that's why I love
Right.
Japanese cinema so much. Is that like they're very theatrical. I mean, they're from the kabuki style of theater, was very physical and very like expressive. And like that's the kind of art that really connects to me. Instead of characters in a room saying like I'm angry and I feel this
Yeah.
way and stuff, and it's like okay, just show me like please through actions and decisions. And I don't like seeing people standing around in a room telling how they feel, like writing or watching movies, anything. So
Yeah. Yeah. Show don't tell is like something that so many of these Hollywood writers need to like seriously study up on.
hmm
Uh,
yeah. Okay,
Dude.
well,
Well,
awesome. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for coming on
uh,
the channel. You'll have to come back for Dune Messiah. I need to pick your brain about that. And I think I'll be
100%.
rereading it because it's short enough that I think I can reread it before we do that video. But any other final thoughts before we get off?
Uh, no, I think that's it. Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, man. And
hmm
yeah, can't wait to jump in and do the side. It's going to the top of my TBR now.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and please have a great rest of the day. Bye.